session. Welcome to this session from the ADB Knowledge Forum. And my name is Miko Mojica. I'm from the ADB's Knowledge Advisory Services Center. I help manage the sector and thematic training programs in ADB, as well as e-learning and knowledge products and services. I will be your moderator for this session, ADB's Knowledge and Innovation Talks, a masterclass on TED-style storytelling and bringing projects to life. So before we start, a couple of housekeeping items to those who didn't see the slide earlier. During the Q&A part of this session, you can ask your questions. You can type the questions in the chat. And if you want to appear on the screen, we would be happy to welcome you. Just click on the Ask to Share audio and video. We also have a poll here on your right side, so we can get your feedback and we could get a sense of how you think about storytelling. Feel free to also visit the expo later on for you to see all the ADB Knowledge and Innovation Talks. And these are also available, of course, in our YouTube channel, the ADB Knowledge and Innovation channel. And lastly, for those who have social media accounts, feel free to follow us, especially in our LinkedIn page, ADB Knowledge and Innovation. And if you're posting about this event, please use the hashtag ADB Knowledge Forum and tag us as well. So before I officially open the agenda, I just want to let you know that there are angels here who would be helping us if we encounter any issues. So the producers for this session will be Beth and Vivian. Beth and Vivian, you're welcome to the screen. Can you just show yourselves so that people also could recognize you? There. Hi, Vivian. Nice to see you.
Morning, everyone.
Morning, everyone. Nice. So there are angels for this session. Okay, so let's go to our agenda. So my objective here after you attend the session is that you will be motivated to do more storytelling and to also try this TED-style approach of communicating about your work, your passion, your advocacies, and the way you share knowledge and good practices. You will learn some of the basic principles of public speaking and effective communication, and what keeps an audience engaged. And lastly, the takeaway I want you to have from this session is to have that feeling that you too have interesting stories to tell. And this session will inspire you to use your voice and creativity, which you all have in you. Okay, so without further ado, I'm sure that you know what a TED Talk is. And I'm sure that all of you have probably their own favorites. So please go ahead, use the chat if you want to share your favorite TED Talks. If you're like me, I have a playlist of the best TED Talks that I could, play when I'm feeling down or I want to get new perspective. So go ahead and type that in. For today's agenda, we will be talking about storytelling and how it's being used in ADB through these knowledge and innovation talks to communicate about our work. It's actually something that I find myself to be very useful and really awesome, that through these videos, we can easily share with people who don't really know what ADB does and what ADB is. And I think this is really an effective tool to inspire and drive action and change. So before we invite our speakers for today, why don't we all watch this video together to just give us a glimpse of what the ADB Knowledge and Innovation Talk is all about.
I'm Susan Ross. I'm the Chief of the Knowledge Advisory Services Center at the Asian Development Bank. When I joined ADB, I was so impressed with the number of reports, publications, and videos that we put out there to share our knowledge. I used them a lot to learn about our work and about our developing member countries. I also published a lot myself. But to be honest, I actually learned the most from people, from my colleagues, from my counterparts in government, and of course from other peers and other agencies.
My name is Ajit Sharma. I'm a TEDx ambassador for TED and the speaker coach for TED Talks India. I've spent the last 12 years curating and learning from some of the most remarkable speakers at TED and TEDx. and I have experienced how their knowledge through their TED Talks has changed the lives of millions.
So this made me think, how can we capture all this knowledge that we have as people? How can we bring together our minds, our souls, and our hearts? And this is when we started to explore how we can use storytelling to share the authentic knowledge that we all have as ADB's employees without having to do long videos and write very long reports.
And that is when we created an exclusive learning program for ADB to help people share their stories of knowledge and innovation. It's designed to help you build a mindset that focuses on what your audience wants to listen to, and how do you explain or inspire or persuade people about what you do at ADB through storytelling. It's a virtual learning experience that's full of conversations, one-on-one interactions, understanding and applying some principles of public speaking, and even rehearsals, so that you can produce your very own ADB knowledge and innovation talk while you're sitting at home. We want people to start telling these stories exactly the way we ourselves like to listen to, especially now. Short stories that are exciting and authentic, stories that are full of perspectives, lessons, insights, visuals, music, and so much more. But most importantly, stories that become a reason and become a motivation for people to walk into your world and see what's happening and have a conversation with you.
And actually, if you look back in history, storytelling has always been the most powerful tool to teach, inspire, share, and influence. Stories bring people together. They connect ideas. And that's what we are doing with the ADB Knowledge and Innovation Talks. So please check them out. You can find them now everywhere on LinkedIn, on YouTube, even as podcasts. Check for new ones as they come out. And join us and learn how we work with and for the people in Asia and the Pacific.
If you have a story or an idea that means the world to someone, then we invite you to be a part of this learning journey and create your very own ADB Knowledge and Innovation Talk.
I hope you all enjoyed that video, which sets the context for this session. And Susan and Ajit both shared that stories bring us together. And what a nice way that I am now introducing Ajit Sharma, TEDx ambassador and also the lead trainer for ADB's Knowledge and Innovation Talks. Hi, Ajit. Nice to see you in this session.
Hi, Biku. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone who's joining us from all parts of the world. What a joy, what a great pleasure being here. And I've been watching the last couple of days, such insightful sessions, speakers who have spoken before me, people who are going to speak today. I'm grateful to everyone. Thank you for this opportunity.
And Ajit, why don't you share with us, what do you do at TED? And how come that you engage with us?
Right. So my role in TED is I'm a TEDx ambassador for TED, which means I'm a part of a team of 25 ambassadors globally that are responsible for creating a lot of regional connects. Many of you would know that TED started back in 80s as a conference, as a platform to share ideas. But about 12 years ago in 2009, the TEDx program was started. And the objective was to get some really good, interesting stories, ideas, innovations from different parts of the world and bring them together. Few years later, around 2017, I was asked to join the TED Talks India television team, which was the first and only television series ever done by TED, and that was hosted by Shah Rukh Khan. And maybe some of you would know that he's a Bollywood icon. That was the first time TED had done such a massive initiative outside the mainstream English speaking audience, online or on television both. And ever since, I've been very passionate about storytelling, about cinema, about theater, all these things that help us tell these stories. And my role with ADB, interestingly started a couple of years ago. And actually, this is Susan's brainchild, to be honest. So, last year, when the innovation fair was being planned at the ADB office, it was Susan's idea that, why don't we try something where, such amazing work is happening at ADB across Asia and Pacific. So many, impact stories, so many interesting things and innovations and new things are happening. Why don't we bring them all together under one roof in very TED style, short, creative ways, and get these speakers to share their stories. So that's when we created the first in-person learning program, which happened at the ADB office in Manila. And it was very interesting. It was, a lot of fun because it was a good shift from moving from traditional conference setup and sharing information to something that was way more conversational, candid, and easy, yet so insightful. And then COVID happened, and then we thought that, why don't we still continue this learning journey? So we created a virtual learning experience, and I'm going to share more about it later. But yeah, so what we're doing is that, we are doing these learning programs, and out of every program, we create these ADB Knowledge and Innovation Talks, where speakers, the ADB staff gets to share their stories.
That's really fascinating. Thank you for coming to ADB and teaching us how to tell good stories. And we'll talk more about that later. I'm sure by now people are more curious to know what the actual videos from our ADB speakers on Knowledge Innovation Talks are all about. And I'm sure you want, and you're so excited to share about some of these teaser videos. Could you tell us about what we're about to show them?
Yes. So for people who haven't had a chance to see the ADB Innovation and Knowledge and Innovation Talks, these are very, very insightful 5 to 6 minute talks that were produced by speakers at their home, even when they were in lockdown. They wrote the scripts, they practiced, they edited. And everyone who's been a part of this program, every participant, I'm extremely grateful to them for their time and effort. That they took time to create these wonderful talks. And it's unfortunate that there is limited time and we can only show just a few of them, but we picked a few very, very interesting stories, and we created short 1.5 minute teaser videos that are good enough for people to get excited to know what's happening, right? So the purpose of these talks is to start a conversation and let people, like I said, walk into your world and just get curious and intrigued what's happening. So we would love to play these quick videos, and then we are very fortunate that the speakers also are going to join us as we speak in this session. So let's
So just so all of us know, we have started this as a training program, and now it's becoming a powerful way of telling the story beyond ADB and reaching to our audiences more effectively. We have actually just this year, from the comforts of our own home, purely virtually, we had 6 batches of trainees for this training program on TED-style ADB Knowledge and Innovation Talks, and we've had 40 speakers in total. So what you will see in the YouTube playlist for ADB Knowledge and Innovation Talks, it's just about half of what we have in store. So please watch out for more videos. Right now, before you play some of those teasers, I would like to invite the first speaker who was trained and actually produced a very nice video out of this training program. I want to call to the screen Pamela Wyatt. Pamela, please join us.
Hi.
Hi, Pamela. So could you tell us a bit about yourself, please?
So I work in the Pacific Department, and one of the countries I work on is Fiji. And when I was asked to do this training and think about a topic that I'm passionate about, the work I'm doing in gender responsive budgeting in Fiji immediately came to mind, and that's what you'll see my videos about.
Nice. We'll talk more about that later, Pamela. Thanks.
Thank you.
Ajit, over to you. Please show the video to us. We're excited already.
Let me play that.
How can governments use their national budgets to make sure that public finances are being used to deliver the right services to the right places to help the right people? One way is through gender responsive budgeting. But what is gender responsive budgeting? It's not a separate budget for women. It's not targeting only programs that are specifically for women. And it's not about seeking to spend exactly the same amount on men as on women. It is about analysing a budget and government policies to understand the different impact they'll have on women and men, boys and girls, and other different sectors of the community. For a woman like Lily, who's a single mother in Fiji, it had an immediate and real impact on her life. Join us to know more about her story and witness how ADB is changing the lives of thousands of women in Fiji.
That's just a teaser, of course, Ajit. The full talk is even better. So please watch that full video of Pamela from our playlist and also from the expo. Next, I want to call to the screen Luca Di Mario. Hi, Luca. Will you come on screen, please? Hello, Luca.
Okay. Hi
Nice
everyone.
to see you. Please
Good morning.
introduce yourself to everyone.
Okay, I'm Luca Di Mario. I work in the South Asia department at the Urban Development and Water Division. And my tech talk is mostly about waste and the waste project in the Maldives.
Nice. I'm also excited to show to people this great looking video, and Ajit is playing it
In
right.
South Asia, every single minute, about 90 trucks of municipal solid waste end up untreated in a dump site like this, or directly into the ocean. The lives of thousands of people like Hamed and Aisha who live in the Greater Male area are severely affected by this unsustainable solid waste management. This is about 75% of the total waste generated. And if we do nothing, all this will double up in the next 30 years. Many of us thought this is impossible, and that's when we figured out an idea. And ADB is now supporting 2 projects which we hope in the next 5 years will provide a feasible alternative to improve the lives of Aisha, Hamed, and many thousands of other Maldivians. It doesn't matter how efficiently you treat your waste, the best solid waste management strategy always starts with less waste generated. Let's make it happen. Now.
I really enjoy watching this video too. So let's move on to our third ADB speaker. I want to call to the screen Sharad Saxena. Hi, Sharad.
Hi, Miko. Good to be
Sharad,
here.
please greet everyone. Introduce yourself.
Well, hi, everyone. I'm Sharad Saxena. I'm the transport specialist in South Asia department, currently outposted and based out of Delhi and working on urban transport projects.
During peak hours, the local trains in Mumbai carry 3 times more than its capacity. People have to hang for their lives and sometimes worse. Mumbai is the second most densely populated city in the world and deserves another lifeline. How do we give billions of people a safe and comfortable commute every single day? ADB is now supporting one of India's largest infrastructure projects that will change the face of Mumbai and transform the lives of millions of people, the Mumbai Metro. With a network of 14 lines, the Mumbai Metro will connect millions of unconnected people. With clean and green energy and zero emissions, the dream of a livable city will be made possible with Mumbai Metro.
There when you said Bollywood, Sharon. Let's talk more later on that about your talk. For now, the last ADB speaker, but certainly not the least, I want to call to the screen, please, Savindi Jayakodi. Hi, Savindi.
Hi,
Hello,
everyone.
Savindi. Nice to see you here. Could you please introduce yourself to everyone?
Yes. I'm Savindi Jayakodi, Associate Economic Officer of the Sri Lanka Resident Mission of South Asia Regional Department. I was involved in implementing SME line of credit project, and I was highly passionate about the work that it did. And that was the exact reason why I wanted to have this topic as my TED Tiles talk topic. Thank you.
Nice. It's really nice to see you here. Savindi is one of the recent trainees that we had for this talk, and we were amazed by the output that she had for this ADB Knowledge and Innovation Talk, which you're about to see. So please enjoy this.
Why is that? Despite a 95% female literacy rate in Sri Lanka, only 25% of entrepreneurs in the SME sector are women. Women have limited access to finance and they lack opportunities for capacity development. How can ADB support these women-owned SMEs? The answer lies in building an ecosystem of stakeholders to create systematic changes which break down these barriers faced by women entrepreneurs. ADB is now providing support to these women through its SME line of credit project. Our work for women is being supported by the Women Entrepreneurs Finance Initiative V5. And we do this through a three-way interconnected approach of providing affordable finance, improving business skills, and providing policy and advocacy support. We have an opportunity and a responsibility to close this gender gap in Sri Lanka and achieve an additional 20% economic growth in the long run. Join us to see how ADB is bringing a shift in banking system for women in Sri Lanka.
Thanks. So let us welcome back to the screen Pamela, Sharad, and Luca to join this conversation. And please stay also, 70, with your camera on, please. We will have an interesting conversation about your experience and your insights about this new way of storytelling for ADB. So I want to start by asking Pamela first. Pamela, your talk, since we shared it, remember at the VPKM retreat last, I think that was March, it had received amazing feedback from everyone. Of course, starting with your own department, the Pacific department. And also we received a lot of comments and requests for copies of your video to be shown in events internal to ATB and also with our external partners. So could you walk us through your experience and let us know, how do you think these short, powerful videos help you in communicating your work?
Sure, thanks, Miko. I've had some great feedback and I've been genuinely surprised with not only the feedback, but just how many people have actually seen the video. These videos are a great opportunity to reach a wider audience and to be able to raise awareness about, for me, gender responsive budgeting with people who I wouldn't normally get to talk to. And for me, it's also an opportunity to talk about something that I'm obviously quite passionate about. Actually, I was in a meeting a couple of weeks ago and I was pretty surprised when a very senior person in ADB who was also in the meeting messaged me and said he'd seen my video and thought it was great. So this is someone I wouldn't normally interact with. So that was amazing. Although then he said he didn't actually agree with everything I said. And of course, my initial reaction was to find out what he disagreed with and to set him straight. But I didn't, because he's thinking about gender responsive budgeting and he might go and talk to someone else about gender responsive budgeting. And then they're thinking about it too. And you know, that is exactly what these videos are about. They're to start conversations, to raise awareness and to get people thinking and talking. And I think that's what makes them really powerful. They're bite-sized and they're accessible to everyone. In terms of the training itself, it was great. And it really made me think about how I communicate, not just for the video, but in my regular communications. So in terms of, you know, the take-home value, there was lots of value. And now when I prepare for any kind of communication, I draw on this training and try to make every communication I do, whether it's, you know, a formal panel or just a regular meeting, a bit more powerful by using the things that I learned as part of this training.
I really love how you put it like that, Pamela. It's really something that impacted not just yourself because of this training, but a lot of people, and a lot has really appreciated your talk. So I want to go over now with Luca. Hi, Luca. So when you shot this video at your home in your home country in Italy, you did this all by yourself. And of course, that's the same for everyone. How was your experience? And would you recommend other ADB colleagues to also go through this learning journey, and what the storytelling power of doing this could have for their work also?
Okay, so thanks a lot, Miko. So the first reaction when actually, you gave us this opportunity to prepare this tech talk was like, I don't have time to do this. I have so much other work and stuff to do. But then I asked myself, how about, who knows about, our project, the work that we are doing, and who are the people, and you see that the default is, often our communication is just through our official documents and, touch our management or some internal colleagues and the governments. But then does a wider audience actually knows about our work and the interesting ideas and stories behind that? And then the answer was actually not really, and that I thought that our project actually deserved much more than the stories behind our project deserve to be shared, and the tacit knowledge also deserve to be shared also in a much more engaging way. And I think storytelling is such a powerful way to share ideas, knowledge, and really capture the attention and deliver complex messages in a very simple and engaging way. So I really, it was not sort of easy, because it was a lot of hard work on top of hard work. But I really enjoyed, as Pamela said, the journey, the learning experience, and really, Ajit, really helped us in, tailor and, sort of, make our communication much more clearer. And I think, it took some time as a first tech talk, and I hope, to do many more, and refine them, and I hope that would be much faster. One thing that I just wanted to mention is that I was a bit lucky because I had a lot of visual material, and not because the project is just in the Maldives, but because our project was so visible that even in the first mission I said, okay, let's document this. Let's have it's now so cheap, with all the mobile phones or even drones, flying a drone. So that's something that I would also recommend to our colleagues to, even if you don't have in mind to have a TED talk, but just start to document and record video. That could be really helpful, also to show the impact of our projects. Sorry, I was a bit long.
No, it's fine. You said a lot of wonderful things, and I love your point about otherwise these programs, these hard work that you do, and the impact that it's creating would otherwise just be buried if you don't tell these stories. And I'm so happy that you're open to creating more of these. So we're looking forward to that. So lastly, but certainly, of course, not the least, let's talk to Sabindi. Sabindi, when you did this, of course, in Sri Lanka, you had lockdowns because of the pandemic. You couldn't get out, and you have to work all throughout the week. And on top of that, you are taking care of your family. How was that experience, and how do you think it changed you, and how you communicate about your work?
I would say that I never thought producing a 5-minute video involves this much effort. In fact, I now have so much more respect for all the people who are doing this every single day. So putting this video together was not at all easy. By the time I had to produce this video, that was at the early last month, Sri Lanka was under a lockdown. And I had 2 young kids at home to nurture and nourish on top of my regular work commitments. My first struggle was finding a topic. I was looking for something that is of interesting to me personally, while also being of communicative value to the ADB community and beyond. So after spending so many hours through many different topics, and after talking to colleagues, I was able to pick women entrepreneurship as my topic because I was implementing this project and I was highly, highly passionate about it. So even on this topic, there was a lot of content out there. And I worked through several rounds with Ajit to identify what needs to be told and how. So what was particularly useful advice for me from him was finding out what framing choices in my script would spark interest and ultimately change on the issue. So once his script was ready, I had to hunt for a good location to serve as my backdrop. Now, my house is not designed like a studio. It has lots of very bland white walls, but not what Ajit was looking for. So to make things even more challenging, the lockdown really limited the choices I had. So eventually I ended up asking my neighbor whether I could use their house for the recording, for which they enthusiastically agreed. So I slotted the recording to the time when my 1-year-old son takes his morning nap so that I could step out of the house. And also that was a time there was good natural light. That was what Ajit wanted. He said it should be always natural light, not, the artificial lights. So I didn't have a tripod to hold this phone. So I had used this makeshift stand by keeping a portable table on top of the dining table and getting the required height by stacking books on top of the portable table. So I remember this day, it was a very hot day, and I had to keep all the doors and windows closed because this house was fronting a busy road. So you are easily disturbed by the honking of speeding cars and barking of neighborhood dogs. So to make this worse, I couldn't even switch on the fan because it would make a noise. So here I am sweating and feeling all icky. So what I thought would be just one take went on till 3 takes. Even then, I was not really sure. Actually, I had my reservations whether I got it right. All in all, it was a very novel experience and there was a lot of learning there. In fact, actually, I haven't fronted a camera in a long time. So that is why I actually had to practice a lot when my kids were asleep. And I also wanted my presentation to sound natural and not so scripted. So that is why I really put in a lot of effort into practicing. So I asked for help from Ajit whenever I needed. And Ajit was so very generous with sharing his wisdom and advice and giving me so many tips. Now,
I agree.
Yeah, and also I want to say that I may not be giving TED Talks or TED style talks regularly after this training because it's not part of my core work. But I'll be sure to use these tips and tricks I learned from this training to make even more, even the most boring PowerPoint presentation be told like a story. I think mainly it's for the impact. And also I have new appreciation for using simple language and also present like how I would have a conversation with a friend. So to reiterate, Miko, I have seen TED Talks, but I never ever imagined the preparation and consideration one must really have to go through to have that good 5-minute screen time. Right?
It's amazing, right? The learning journey. And it seems
point to make here.
Ajit wants to point out something here.
Yes.
Go, Ajit.
Not just Savindi, Luca, Sharad, I get to speak to you. I think every participant who was a part of this program, I'm so grateful. I have so much more admiration and respect for all of them. In such difficult times, working 24/7, doing everything by yourself, families, there's no time, and then you were able to involve your friends, your spouses, sometimes even children help. They could, because they were obviously more savvier and faster and better with phones and everything. And all of these amazing talks that you see, none of them was shot on a high-end professional camera or in a studio. But the fact that they're so amazing and they're so nice are because they're authentic, they're heartfelt, and they truly represent all of these individuals who have worked so hard for so many years. So that's what makes it so unique and special. I'm so grateful, and I have so much respect for all of you. But Sharad is yet to make a comment.
Right? So, Sharad, sorry, I skipped you there. Of course, we want to hear about your experience. How was your experience talking about your project, the Mumbai Metro, and what was it like shooting the video at your home? Tell us, please.
Yeah, no, thanks a lot, Miko and Ajit. I must say I echo, what Savindi and the others have said. When we started this, it did seem very challenging. I mean, I know we all of us in ADB have done a lot of presentations, but then you are always used to a lot of tech support, and if anything goes wrong, just call IT and so on. So, doing this yourself, this DIY, was a bit overwhelming. But as I think Savandi was mentioning, Ajit and his team are wonderful. They're so helpful and teach you so many tips and tricks to get you along the way. And once you are into this, it's really fun and very enjoyable. So I would definitely encourage others who are thinking about this or considering this to have a go at it. For Mumbai Metro, I can just say that it's a very powerful project. It's a very transformative project in India, in India's financial capital. There's, of course, a lot already written and published about it, as well as part of the ADB publications. We have a special publication for Mumbai Metro. But I guess this little video just allowed me to tell my story in my own way and gave me that freedom. And I think that's important. Certainly in this case, for me, I actually began my journey in Mumbai working for the railways and have seen these problems firsthand. So it's been a privilege to be a part of this Mumbai Metro team on the part of ADB. And then I think this little opportunity really gave me a chance to express myself and talk about this story. Thanks.
I love it. That's exactly what we want to have you give you the experience of that learning journey and being proud about your own work and reaching a lot of people even outside ADB. So we're really happy. And actually, I was reading the chat here. You've got a lot of supporters, of course, from SARD. And I would have to, give praises to Jazeera, because Jazeera Asanova, who's also our KM focal for SARD, was the one who really said, I need you, please, to help us give this learning opportunity for our specialists, for our officers, and for our staff at SARD to know how to tell your story, because there's really lots of information that's not being shared and really good stories, gems actually, that we want to get out there. So thank you for participating in this training program. We want to spend more time chatting, but for now, we'd ask you to stay with the audience while Ajit and I go deeper in the conversation about storytelling and the TED style approach to communication. Thanks again, Savindi, Luca, Sharad, and Pamela. Lovely to have you here. Thank you for your time. Please stay with us.
Thank you.
So, Ajit, aren't you just proud about the fantastic talks?
I'm delighted, to be honest. I think I'm at a very privileged, enviable position that I got to learn about such a variety of powerful projects. Like Sharad was mentioning, every story, every work that's happening on ground is so incredible. Like I said, I'm very lucky that I got to work along with them and help them tell their stories in a way that a wider audience is interested and it's curious. I'm very delighted.
Yep. So I guess before I ask you deeper questions, I want to address some of the comments in the chat or questions. First, I guess this was from Ashwath. Ashwath is curious to know what ADB's approach should be. How do you choose which projects to make these videos for, and can it be done for every project? What is your take on that, Ajit?
Yes, I strongly believe that every project has a story. Ideally, every project should definitely be captured. Other than the reports and journals and interviews, they should also be an ADB Knowledge and Innovation Talk. In terms of what kind of preparation does it need, I think as long as there is enough work that has happened, or even if it's in the pipeline, if there's at the heart of it, there's a good idea, good knowledge solution. If something is done differently, there's a new perspective, something that can be shared so that people build a new worldview about what's happening in that country or project, should definitely be told through a story like ADB Knowledge and Innovation Talk. Yeah.
Right. Everyone has interesting stories to tell and share. So I want to go to this next comment. Of course, yeah. Jane, this session is being recorded, so it will actually be available later on for you to watch the replay. And from John, he is asking, could ADB also offer scholarships for these training programs for development workers like me? That's a great question. Right now, to my knowledge, I don't know if such an opportunity exists. It's possible because ADB is so big. There's a lot of initiatives going on in different departments, resident offices. And this is actually one of the long-term vision that Susan and um, our team has for these knowledge and innovation talks, that it could be replicated, it could be done also to reach our developing member countries, our counterparts, to train them also how to tell stories, how to share their stories. So maybe you could all stay tuned for that, and we will be happy to announce if such an opportunity arises. Okay, so I think those are the questions so far. Let's go to my question for you, Ajit. There's a good plenary session yesterday with the former Chief Knowledge Officer from NASA, Ed Hoffman, and he tackled a bit about the power of storytelling. He said that it's powerful because it gives people a voice to tell their stories with dignity, with purpose and meaning. And this is something that you also discuss in our training sessions with the speakers. What's your reaction to that?
It's so true. There is a reason why this is the oldest form of communication. It has passed the test of time. Some of the most amazing, incredible lessons that we have learned in life is through stories, right? When we were growing up, lessons of being honest, of being disciplined, of being respectful to parents, and even growing up, right? Everything that we need to learn that forms, and even in the context of ADB, every form of knowledge that needs to be shared must be, shared through the forms of stories. That's when people make a connect. They are authentic. They are easy to understand. They are very real. And I think that's what we've also tried to keep at the heart of everything that we do. That these stories and these pictures and these anecdotes and things that are happening are very, very relatable, very topical, so that everybody can imagine what is happening. So what he said is absolutely right. I have great respect for Hoffman. He completely resonates my thinking also.
Yeah, we were certainly lucky to have you both in this Knowledge Forum 2021. So my first question to you, Ajit, is could you tell us what really happens beyond the scenes in the real TED Talks?
Right. So it's a long process, and I think all the speakers who were there also reflected that to produce a short 5-minute, 7-minute talk takes time. It's a lot of hard work. It's very famously said that I wish I had more time to write a shorter letter. So to create something that's very, very articulate, it takes time. So usually there's a team of curators, that people who are experts on certain subjects, and they also have a very good understanding of how the audience responds to certain topics, certain subjects, how those are distributed, and some of those questions. Right in the beginning, curators work with the speakers, and it's almost like the role of an investigative journalist to dig more, to ask uncomfortable questions to speakers. Even in our program, also when we were brainstorming with all the speakers one-on-one, we would go really deep in asking difficult questions that even the speakers themselves haven't sometimes thought of, or they don't have an answer yet. Right, so that process takes sometimes a few days, a few weeks, a few months also. There's also a legal fact check team that makes sure that every word spoken in a TED talk is correct. All sorts of research is done. There's an exclusive design team that makes sure that the pictures and slides, the presentations that you see at the TED conference or even in the TED Talks, it's a complete science in itself. Presentation literacy and building presentations, visual presentations, it's a complete task in itself. And then finally, like any other TV studio production or a film production set, there are people who will create the stage. There are speaker coaches who help the speakers get some confidence for stage, build a very appropriate body language and voice that matches what they're saying. These rehearsals happen, then speakers finally give their talks. It's a very intimate setting to be there at a TED conference. It doesn't look like that it's a very formal, even though it's a very, very serious and sincere event, but it's still very, very light, right? So that's why it's never called a TED speech, because you don't speak at people, but it's very, very conversational. So you talk to people. That's why it's called a TED talk. Yeah, so even though with a lot of preparation, the actual talk is almost sounds like a very, very insightful conversation. And then a lot of magic also happens in editing. These talks are like really, really well edited. There's a crew of, sometimes 15, 20 cameras. And therefore, the average viewer today, consumes content very, very differently. So how you would attend a conference and consume content is extremely different from how you would watch it on your, little gadget. So some of those things, all of those things, go into the picture, and that's when you see like a beautiful, profound TED talk.
But I also want to know, what makes a good story?
So many things. I would like to, stay focused in terms of ADB, especially when we're trying to talk about knowledge. I think the number one task for a storyteller is to help people transport into another world. So, right, for example, if someone is talking about schools in Indonesia, or somebody's talking about a transgender community in Bangladesh, or maybe hospitals in Japan, if you can tell your story in a way that other people subconsciously start imagining, or those scenes can start conjuring up in people's minds, that storytelling is really nice. That's what we like to call it, that it's authentic. I was transported into some another world. But also, I think the stories that have a very strong authenticity and simplicity. So people, with the penetration of internet, there's such a widespread audience that we cannot have complex, jargony, difficult stories that people cannot understand. So the goal of a story should be, like I said, to move people from one mental state or one emotional state to another one. So when you listen to a good story, you start thinking differently. So you may feel agitated, you may feel inspired, you may feel more knowledgeable, you may feel more enriched. Whatever you think about that subject, you start thinking about it differently. You have a new, new worldview, a new opinion about it. That's what a good story does. And obviously, when we talk about knowledge, a good story should also have embedded lessons, embedded insights into it. Otherwise, it's just another story for entertainment. But the purpose here is that we want to share that knowledge and transfer it to other people. So a good story should also have these really, really nice embedded insights. And I have, in fact, this really very, very personal favorite question. And every time we have a one-on-one conversation with a speaker, we ask them that, imagine if you were to pass on whatever work you are doing to your son or your daughter or your spouse, or, if you're passing this legacy to someone, what are those, one or two principles or lessons would you tell them, right? That remember, always keep in mind. Those sort of lessons are something that we would love to embed in these stories.
Right. Yeah. Very true. And also, I guess that brings me to, let us welcome some of the questions here. I think it ties nicely with what you're trying to say about how do you share good stories. They're asking actually good questions. How do you track the impact of these videos? How do you measure the success of these videos? What's your thoughts on this?
So a part of the whole equation is the engagement that we see online. So if the talk is, it's very insightful, it's produced well, it's published on different platforms, the kind of conversations and engagements and reach it generates is one of the markers, one of the parameters to say that the talk was done well. Now, unfortunately, on social media, a lot of other types of content may also get more views, and it may still not have any good story or insights on it. But having said that, the more conversations and the more reach, can the video have online, I think that to some extent says that this has done its part. And obviously, a lot of those things happen in person, and some of those things cannot be fully measured. Like, for example, how Pamela is saying that There are people she may have never met, or she was very less likely to meet. But those people are coming and saying that we watched your video, and at least there's a conversation happening now. So
Yeah.
it's tangible and intangible both.
Right. I remember reading this book from Stephen Denning. He was formerly from the World Bank, and his book is about the springboard, how storytelling ignites action in knowledge era organizations. And he told his story of how he catalyzed change through storytelling. So I guess that's a very good way to measure, although it's not, the usual metrics that we would expect. But if you could see that change, and his explanation about what is a springboard story is if it's a story that enables a leap in understanding by the audience, that they are able to grasp how an organization or community or complex systems may change. And it was really not about transferring large amounts of information, but catalyzing understanding so that people will grasp the idea very simply and quickly because it's very visual and in a non-threatening way. So it's actually a nice tie-up to also what's been discussed in the previous plenaries for this event, that how do you communicate not only the successes, the wins, but also the failures? And how do you communicate the lessons? And how do you nudge people to change, the culture to change? So this is all really connected, interconnected.
Yes, I agree.
So I guess there are other questions here, but I want to move on. And this is, I think, a great takeaway for our audience. What's the tips, the lessons that we can leave for them, that you could leave for them on this learning journey? What kind of mind shift should people expect? The skills that they need to learn if they want to be a good storyteller and to tell a story well?
Right. First and foremost, I think, is to build this mindset that I have to think about my audience first. There's a very popular cognitive bias that we speak about a lot in TED. It's called the curse of knowledge. The curse of knowledge is basically that you know so much about your work that you no longer know what the other person doesn't know. Which means many speakers, many people, when they reach a certain level of expertise and seniority in their work, unfortunately, they assume that everybody else also knows what they're going to talk about. And therefore, the single biggest mistake that people make is that let me talk about everything so that everyone will take something, which is not quite right, because you cannot have a message that lands absolutely well for all different types of audiences. I mean, especially now there are so many different clusters and fragments. I mean, the audience is so fragmented, so divided, that you need to ask certain questions, that who do I want to speak to and who do I not want to speak to, right? So we have these questions even in our one-on-one session with speakers that make some solid assumptions about how much does your audience know? Are they curious? How much interest do they have? How will they consume your content? How much time can they give to your content? What kind of actions do you want them to take after they listen to you? So as a speaker, it's your responsibility to keep the audience in the equation, number one. So, not have the curse of knowledge, but I think the first goal should be to find ways to get people interested and curious. Because only then, if someone allows you to walk into, their mind and then tell them that this is happening, this is not right, or look at this. Otherwise, people are guarded and people have no attention, no time left to watch something. I mean, when was the last time we watched a full 10-minute long YouTube video? We don't remember. Second, always think about what you want to give, what you want to talk about as a gift of knowledge, which means that you know something because you have experienced it firsthand. Nobody else knows this experience like you do. So this is something that we tell people right before when they're walking on stage and there is this whole nervousness and, people are jittery or stiff, that, one of the ways to counter that is that think of whatever you are doing as something so insightful that you want to gift it to people. With that kind of mindset, everything becomes very, very calm and very easy. Third, another mistake that a lot of people make is that if we have an opportunity where we want to speak, a lot of us would, immediately open MS Word or PowerPoint and we would start writing our thoughts and then hope that this would become our main PPT or this would become my main speech, which is incorrect personally for me. And we have seen in the last so many years the difference between when we ask speakers to send us audio notes about what you're thinking, what is that you want to talk about, what is most interesting about your work, blah, 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 versus when we ask them to send us a Word file. Such a stark difference. And we encourage speakers that the moment you think you have an important opportunity to speak, shut down your system, shut down everything. You are not writing a report, you're giving a talk. So don't write it. First, speak it out, right? So find a good corner at your home, go to the garden, go to a cafe, meet a friend, switch on the audio recording on your phone and start speaking, right? And then just start talking to yourself that, this something interesting happened when I was there in last 2 years. I can speak about this, I can talk about. And then when you listen to those and when we listen to those and, when we write scripts for people and we pick up some amazing gold, from those audio notes. And those actually become the reason why the talks become popular. And then there are many other ways. Yeah.
Yeah. Forget perfectionism. And I remember Vivek's voice ringing in my ear saying, there's no such thing as utopia. So just do it. Okay. And I love what Sally put in here in the chat. She has a question. Have you repurposed portions of these videos across other communication platforms, radio, social media? And we did, of course. Ajit, tell them how we are repurposing these videos.
So one, when participants go through the program, we create a 5-minute, 6-minute video. Then we also make a short 1.5 minute teaser video that we put out on social media that obviously gets more viewership and it becomes a reason to watch the bigger talk. We also have started our podcasts, which is available now on Spotify and Apple. And a lot of these episodes are in the pipeline. I think another couple of weeks, you will see these podcasts. And our goal has been very simple that, we want to be very aware and mindful of how much time people can spend and, what kind of takeaways people are looking for. So these are going to be very, very nice, very interesting, short 5-minute, 6-minute episodes, right? So you're driving or you have a little break of 5 minutes, just listen to one podcast, just watch a video. You'll get something to, talk about to other friends, or maybe just reach out to the speaker that, hey, this is very interesting. I like what you're doing. Hey, listen, I don't think what you're saying is right. But these are going to become triggers for conversations.
Right. Yeah, I love that. Unfortunately, we don't have time left. So I want to end this session. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We loved our conversations. I hope you enjoyed the videos. There are more videos to be expected from the Knowledge and Innovation Talks. There are a lot of videos already there. So please don't forget to check it out and also answer our polls so we get your feedback for this session. Thanks so much, Ajit. Thank you, everyone, and take care.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks. It was lovely speaking to all of you.